Commissioners Court to order. If everyone please rise. You said that, no one else.
That's a bad choice of words.
Yeah, it was. It'll be paper. I'd like to call on Commissioner Harvey to give the invocation or his.
I've asked our district attorney, Mr. John Gillespie, if he would give our invocation this morning.
Thank you. Please pray. Father, we just thank you for this morning. We thank you for all your blessings in our lives. We acknowledge that every good and perfect gift comes from you. We commit this session to you and this budget year to you. We ask your blessings on this court and on this county today. Give us wisdom and direction. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Y'all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas pledge, please. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Take your seats, please. This time, I'd like to ask Sheriff Duke and Sergeant Peeler to come forward. We want to make a little recognition of his service.
Not that I'm going to I bet somebody
You
will.
want to read this? You don't need to. No, okay. Okay, I'll loan you mine. All right. Great. Certificate of Appreciation. This certificate is presented to Brian D. Peeler for 10 years of service to Wichita County. Congratulations on reaching your milestone service anniversary. Through your hard work, dedication, and loyalty, Wichita County is able to provide quality service to the citizens of Wichita County. In honor of your service, we are pleased to offer you a Choice Anniversary Award, and please accept your gift as an expression of our gratitude for the contributions you continue to make every day. On behalf of the Commissioners Court, we commend you for your service and with you every success as you continue your career toward your next milestone. Your commitment to Wichita County is deeply appreciated. This 31st day of March, we passed that a while back, 2018, I think we need to.
It's county government.
Yeah, all right. You know, we're slow, but we're catching up. It's signed by Darrell Choate and Sheriff David Duke. Congratulations, Sheriff. What you
Good job, Brian.
Brian is assigned to our training division, which is also involved with recruiting and doing all the hiring personnel with the sheriff's office. Him and Mackenzie Fowler in the back and Sergeant Brian Kochak, they're like on a marathon run across the Atlantic Ocean trying to get people hired for the jail because of the shortage we have right now. And Brian, I want to tell you, we don't see each other every day because you're moved down into the hall. We appreciate what y'all do in training and what you've done since day one. You've been in training, you've been in for a few years now. So we know it's a real headache sometimes to get the quality people that we can hire to go to work in the jail, and then to see if some of the people leave us like that happen. It's an ongoing revolving door, so I appreciate what you do. Thank you very much. You get to a speech finally. Thank you.
Oh, Brian.
Well done.
Thank you.
One other person I'd like to recognize is back in the room, Tim Murdoch. Tim is our new County Veteran Service Officer, and he started with us last Friday, and he's already had to spend a couple hours with Joel Jimenez, and so that, and he did have some time with Lucy Caracito, who is helping us as a volunteer once in a while, but Tim will be in the office, and we are meeting tomorrow with Gary Ivey, who's the Regional Director for Texas Veterans Commission, to try to plan some training for them, because that regular training doesn't come around for a while yet, and so we need to get him. But it's going to be, some people think, well, we'll be able to go in there right away and he can file our claim. He has worked with one claim. He's a retired Army officer, and he's helped process his, but it isn't all the way through yet either. But he will learn on the go, and with his military background and type of leadership roles he had, I'm really looking forward to working with him. And not only was the Army, but he was Signal Corps, so he and I have been to a lot of the same places during that time. Tim, thanks for coming, and I know you've probably got some people waiting on you over at the office, so thanks a lot. Anything you want to say?
Sir, just, I'm honored to have an opportunity to serve the veterans of Wichita County. We really look forward to it. My wife and I are happy to be here. We're really jumping in, and I'm anxious to learn my job so I can make a difference. So, just honored to be here, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay, we're down to the part of any public comment, and what I'm going to say right now, if it's general, we do have a session right before we start talking about the budget for budget comment there. So is there anything else for the good of the court anyone needs to bring up in general? Wow, that's great. We're doing that good. Okay. All right. I've got to ask the court to take action on the consent agenda.
Judge, I'd make a motion that we approve the consent agenda, but I wanted some discussion on item 6, just clarification from me.
All right, sir.
I'll second, Judge.
Discussion on item 3.
Item 6.
Well, he wants 3.
Oh,
Okay, let's go ahead and take 3.
Just want you to read me this person's name.
Cornelius.
No. Keep going.
Hyacinth.
Hyacinth.
What?
Hyacinth.
Hyacinth.
I'd have never got that.
Well, you went to school in Grand?
I did.
Okay.
It's like a flower.
How come our county clerk seems to be so much more prepared? She went there too?
She's a lot older than I am.
Is that it? Okay.
Well, was she where the teacher's at before you got there?
Okay. Item 6, Commissioner. What?
I just wanted some update on, to my knowledge, IRS is asking for information just on the layout of the funding.
Well, that's what they want to know. Everything we went through, they want to see that. And what they're really focused on is what kind of contracts do we have with federal agencies to house their prisoners. And I said there's 2 things of importance when I talked to the guy in Manhattan about 6 o'clock last week. And I said, number 1, our jail's not built. And number 2, then we have no contracts for that jail operation. About 2 minutes later, what kind of contracts do you have? I said, maybe I repeated that 3 times to him.
But what's that have to do with the price of eggs in China?
Well, they have a program to look at and review as to whether municipalities or counties or other agencies are developing only for the purpose of having revenue. And so
In
we're,
lieu of ad valorem taxes?
wow, yeah,
Wow.
but
What an idea.
But the federal government doesn't think you should be doing that, yet they aren't, as Chief and I discussed the other day, they're not building facilities. They want us to provide the facilities and pay us, and probably as taxpayers, we're all better off on that system. But we were randomly selected, and how lucky can you get?
Well, yeah, and it's really early in the equation. So, I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
there's not a lot to see,
No,
actually.
there's, no. The only other thing we need to do, Sheriff, did you possibly request that letter yet from Brandon Wood?
No, sir.
Okay,
I will.
all right. Yeah, 'cause
Sheriff, dude,
that's the only document we've got to furnish them. The attorneys are taking care of the rest of it from their records.
Right.
Sheriff, dude, can you kind of explain what they're talking about the annex and when we get the new jail built, the possibility of housing federal prisoners?
Yeah, the possibility of utilizing the jail, existing jail annex, which we're gonna vacate when we move everybody to the new facility. We have had an interest in from the Immigration Customs Enforcement people, which is ICE. They are interested in building, utilizing it as a holding facility because it's already built, it's already there. And so, we first talked with one of the supervisors out of the Fort Worth office. They were up here talking to us about immigration type issues. And then he, in turn, went back and brought his supervisor, and Chief Douglas, I don't remember where he was on the ladder, the technical ladder down there in Fort Worth, he was a lot higher than the guy we were talking to. And they actually took a tour of it, and they were impressed with it, and they expressed that they were very interested in being able to rent that from the county, or lease it from the county, or do something with the county, because they need more room in North Texas as an immigration holding facility.
And the reason that they can do that is because that would be a federal facility and does not fall under the state jail commission,
That's
which
correct.
has very strict rules that, it's what, we basically built a new jail because we were having such a hard time complying with that.
Exactly right.
So they don't have to comply with it and they can utilize that facility.
That's
They wouldn't
correct.
have an
The
intake
federal
facility
doesn't have
or-
the, they don't have the same standard, they have a certain standard, and we well above meet that standard. So that's why they were very interested in what we already have built.
The thing about that, it's not subject to this bond investigation either, because it's already built, it's already functioning.
It's totally separate.
It's totally
existing.
separate, so that's outside that, what IRS is looking at, so.
Well, the IRS, to my knowledge, is only engaged with us due to bond funds.
Well, that's all. It's, but what they're wanting to know, if we are supplanting costs with excessive, they were talking about, and
But not at this facility.
that you can't have more than 10% federal prisoners in your facility. And, here we've got one side of the federal government pushing for all the space they can get, and you got the other side saying you can't do that.
Or if you do, we're gonna penalize you.
Yeah. Yeah, so we got to work on that.
Crazy. But this is our bond council, Judge?
They're going to do it, yes. It's a division of them.
Our regular
Our
bond.
regular people, it's a division within McCall, Parkhurst, and they're going to do it, and they're expecting the charge to be around $10,000 to $15,000. And it's not a waste of what they're doing, but it's, the whole prefaces behind this is a waste, in my mind.
Very premature.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It's like wanting to know what color the baby's hair is before it's born. Okay. Anything else on consent agenda? Any comments, anyone in the audience? Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Watts, seconded by Commissioner Muller. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. All right. We are now down to the first item, which will be to hear any comments on the budget that anyone has. I'll just go up and down the row. I would ask, if somebody have already said it, let's don't say it again. We're fairly good about catching on the first time, but if you don't think so, then tell us. Okay. Mr. Hillman?
Yes, on page 20, get my fingers wet, page 26 of the budget proposed salary for 2020, Department 465 shows an increase in the public defender's budget of $316,000. And that's for new people. That's increasing the public defenders from 6 to 9, a 50% increase. And increasing investigators from 2 to 4, a 100% increase. I wonder if I could have some justification.
Mr. Hillman, what's the title to your page? Our
Page
newest,
26.
our newest
Yeah.
doesn't have numbers.
26,
Yeah, but we're not numbered.
Mine's numbered.
65 under maximum salary.
proposed salaries for 2020.
Okay. Most of that, Mr. Hillman, I believe has to do with grant funds that flow in and flow out of us that fund those positions.
That first year is 100% grant, and it's decreasing by 20%. Part of that is to meet what appears to be, in fact, if the Galveston County suit goes through, and it goes through the appellate court, and they affirm what the judge ruled there, then at every magistration hearing, we're going to have a defense attorney present. And we had, when I had attended some workshops that the public defender Jim Rasmussen and I went to early with dealing with indigent defense, they said this was on the horizon. So they urged people to apply for a grant, and we applied, and we were successful in getting 2 additional grants from them, one being for the additional personnel we think it's going to take to do that. Second thing is, with the public defender's office, in the 2 audits we've had done to compare the cost of defense by public defenders versus the cost of defense by private attorneys, it's been, one of the audits, it was about $100 less per case, and the other one was around $50. So,
Cost us less money to have a larger public defender's office than it does to go to outside attorneys. So it's a plus.
So
Plus
it's not-
and the grant.
It's not due to an increase in crime.
No.
No, but if you look at our jail population and the people there, we're getting pushed more and more. I visited with a police officer Sunday at church, and, you know, it's a horrible thing. You've got a uniformed police officer there in a church. At any rate, he said, "Why are y'all letting so many people out on PR bonds?" I said, "Well, we're following the law. There are prescribed periods," and Mr. Gillespie, jump in any time and help me out on this, but there are prescribed timeframes that people with a misdemeanor, if there are not charges filed, they have to be considered for a PR bond. And same thing for people charged with a felony. And that's the way the court decisions are going. And
Non-violent felony.
And Mr. Hillman, another way to look at it is the public defender's office spends about $1 million. That's that cost. And they handle 50% of the cases that come in indigent defense and their bailiwick of cases. And that's all they can handle. And we farm out our contract to do the other half at a cost of about $2.3 million to do the other half of the equation. So the thought is here is if we can take use of grant monies, help us ramp up and take more cases, we can buy down that contracted cost that attorneys are costing us today.
Makes sense.
let's hope it does. It looks good right now. And what we need to see is how, and we have to evaluate and send in reports. And unless this does what we hope for it to do, then we don't have to continue it beyond the time we've agreed to. So. But part of the things they'll do, we wrote in the grant, is with the PR bonds, we're having trouble getting people back to court, which means we issue a warrant. It takes the sheriff time then to go re-round them up and get them in there. It always reminds me of the thing of the children standing talking to the sheriff, and there were these pictures up on the wall. And one of the children said, "Who are those people?" And I think it was Sheriff Callahan looked at this little girl and said, "Well, those are the 10 most wanted people in the county." She said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, we're trying to find them and catch them." And she looked at him and said, "Why didn't you keep them when you took their picture?" There's a lot of sense to what she said, but and it's terrible to have to send law enforcement back out to get someone. But part of what the grant we wrote is to make efforts then to push on getting the people. The bondsmen do that because they don't want to have to forfeit their bond for that purpose. So now with the increase in PR bonds, we're going to have some push to get them back, the ones that are represented by the Public Defender's Office. Okay. Anything else, sir? Anyone else? Second row? Third? Anyone else, period? All right. Well, we do appreciate you all coming and being here to do that. And Mr. Hillman, I like our arrangement with you doing a lot of checking on us without being on the payroll. It works for us.
I'd like to add to that, Mr. Hillman, your mannerism in which you address issues is something to be applauded. If everybody came to this court and used the manners and were educated as much as you are, life would be great. You really are a blessing. And I just
We
wanted to tell you
appreciate
that.
everything you've given us.
Appreciate that.
All righty. Friday, we had a very productive work session, went back through all requests, and primarily on personnel is the budget. And we went through that, and in this, most of those were placed in. I will run through those and make so everyone knows that. The court administrator's office, we approved partial of their requests. She'd asked for $1,500 within, they're under the district judges now, but the district judges can't determine their salary. But asked for $1,500 for the court administrator, $1,200. She asked for $1,500 for the deputy court administrator. We held that to $1,200. She asked for $1,500 for the indigent defense coordinator and 2,000 for the deputy court administrator, one position, and the court did place those in the budget. The Mr. Hillman's already brought up the additions we made by virtue of that grant in 465. And commissioners, if y'all catch one I missed, so I went back over this morning early and I thought I got it. Let's go to 562, Sheriff. You asked for us to combine those two part-time positions into one. We did that. And you also asked for consideration for your jailers. And what I would propose to the court is that we put a note on that budget. We look at how your new staff scheduling works. And if it saves money, then we come up with a plan to incentivize your jailers for making that work by coming to work, not having the additional overtime, and then we would review that each 6 months. So as long as they maintain that, then that increase would stay there. If it doesn't, the increase goes away. It's kind of that. Yes, sir.
Would they be salary based?
Uh,
In other words, that'd be put into their salary?
yes, sir. Yeah, it has to be done that way. I mean, I don't need any way to pay them without putting it in their salary.
So if the overtime goes up still, is that salary gonna take it back away from them?
Yes, sir. Well, if
Now,
you don't maintain that's what I'm saying. The court, there needs to be more thought given to it than me pondering over that over the weekend, putting in. But I'd like to get it in so it is noted in the budget. So if the savings, then we've got it in the budget to do that with. But we need to sit down and rough out more how we're going to measure this. I don't know whether it's in meters or yards. The concept is if we can produce savings by that schedule, which we think can happen, even though it's going to initially have this impact because it adds 4 hours every pay period of overtime. But I think if we work on that and the personnel buy into it, then I think we got a chance of doing some good.
Well, Sheriff, I think if you run the numbers, the 4 hours of additional overtime every pay period, it's about a 5% raise.
What
If you
was-
look at it like that.
What was the value we put in for this additional increase in that segment?
In that 4 hours? It's around-
No, in the second half you're speaking of, Judge. Well, I just didn't,
When I looked at it, using it at $75 per position from position 07 to 148 or 6, and then position 150. I didn't put the maintenance people in there in that one, skip them, and then one of the part-time positions. So it would be at up to $75 a month increase, then that ran with benefits about $155,000.
in additional dollars over and above the 4-hour overtime.
Correct.
Okay.
Just
I didn't get that number in my,
Just remember that the overtime we're having is due to shortages. Once again, trying to find the right people that can work in the jail, that doesn't have some kind of criminal history or arrest record or issues that, we don't want them working for this agency. But it's, the biggest thing is, right now, especially people, the jobs, people paying money everywhere, the economy's good. That's the biggest issue is I hate to see some of the employees that are staying and sticking with it, being penalized basically by removing something that they're already getting whenever, it's not their fault that some of these people don't want to work here.
Well, that's kind of
people in
hope-
this room want to work at the county jail, raise your hand, we'll give you an application today.
But I think with the idea you all have on the 12-hour shifts,
Right.
then people are going to be, the very positive part of that is, it looks like they're going to get their days off, and we can help with that.
That's going to help
And-
tremendously. And I think we'll show a definite reduction in the overtime overall. Outside of the 4 hours, they're going to pick up that every pay period. But I think it'll be
Well, and what I think we probably need to do is monitor that for, like, starting in October and run through March, then look at it and then figure out what we need to do. If the incentive is, if the savings is there, then what's the incentive for the next 6 months? And
Put the additional funding in 409.
well, no, the funding will be there because it's going to have been in the salaries, but it wouldn't have been paid out. But this way, we have it and we can transfer it that way.
Will, how many pay periods do we have left this year once we go to 12?
6 probably.
6 pay periods roughly?
So it'll give us a good gauge.
Well, but I'm saying carry it through because you've got Thanksgiving and Christmas holiday. You got a bunch of things that are going to skew that. And I think you've got to look at.
And also another reminder that every sheriff's office we've talked to in Texas are in the same bind with the
Yes,
police
sir.
officers. You know, people are leaving for better paying jobs because of the economy, and that's just it's a trend. We've even looked at if we have to move out 50 inmates just to relieve some of that factor on the fatigue on the employees, trying to find a place to put 50 people, we can spread them out about 4 different places, not one place. There's a lot of places that have the room for it, they just don't have the manpower to
Right.
watch it. So,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Dave, I just doing the gross math on this, I mean, jailer's making $15 to $15.50 an hour. I saw an ad this morning for Chick-fil-A at starting $16.50 an hour.
Yeah.
So,
With a considerable amount of benefits along with that.
All of them, most all of them.
and that's what
So
we're
the
up
jailer
against.
one starts here at $16.46. That's less money than it takes to go to work at Chick-fil-A. I don't see how you compete.
So Chick-
And also
With-
keep
with-
in mind, whenever we're able to get the budgeted money to pay our employees appropriately, guys that are doing the work on their evaluation, they're consistent, they're there all the time, they're good employees, those are the ones that got that money to be able to bump their pay up. The other guy that's sitting there, not doing anything, but he's just here, at the body, those guys aren't getting the pay raises, so that money's going back to the county every year anyway, so I don't see that money that we do return back. Just the fact that we don't just go across the board and get everybody a pay raise.
Right.
Once again, the philosophy behind that is the incentive to get people to.
Well, I think that you developed a very good system there last year when we gave you the flexibility to do that. And no, sir, great work.
And we appreciate the court, going with it and seeing the results of it.
We're set up for long-term benefits,
Right.
we're not set up for the 18 to 32 demographic, which is what we're looking at as far as bringing in jailers. That's the demographic we're after.
It's hard to keep people for 10 years, such as like Peeler, for instance, and of course, he's in a different division, but a floor jailer of 10 years, that's like 138 years in dog years. For the county. So it's a quite a compliment. And we don't have that till too many jailer 5 is the maximum. I think we have 4 or 5, is that right? 6. So,
Those 2 jailers that we give those 20-year awards to, I don't see how they did it.
Well, and Sheriff, I think it's obvious, and I think you started your career in the jail.
Sure did.
It's a good way to get involved in law enforcement and, a good way to start. So,
that's one of the things we push for. It's a good stepping stone
Yeah.
to get into law enforcement. And a lot of sheriffs will tell you this too, that they look at hiring somebody to go on the street, they want somebody that knows how to deal with people. And you will learn that working in the county jail. You will learn it better than a city police officer right out of academy who's never worked in a jail. They may have a job working around people, but they don't really know people like you do working in a county jail. Because you will get immersed in humanity at its worst. And so,
That's not a real positive sales thing on getting better work.
but it's the fact.
It's kind of like my problem with finding Santa Claus is to help out and to cover all those things and tell them, well, the reason I need more is 4 of y'all have died in the last 3 years. So, at any rate,
Thank you.
yes, sir.
thank you.
Commissioners, any other comments? Everything else stayed pretty much the same. We did true up some of the numbers, and I do want to thank Willie and Nancy and the auditor's office who brought together, and what we've got now is a document here that is more consistent with the auditor's way of reporting things in the CAFR, which I think has given us a much more true look at the budget and the funds And one of the other things we're gonna have to do this morning, we're doing a thing, Mr. Hillman, I'm surprised you hadn't asked me, how do you justify taking the budget and doing more than doubling the total expense to the county? Well, we have never accounted for the jail expense and the permanent improvements and those things in the same manner. We now have added that in, so now our $60 million budget is $117 million for next year, which, Claire, ought to make interesting writing for you. You can just put down headlines, Wild Woody doubles county spending, and something like that. But actually, it's a more straightforward way of reporting the same information in this document than we had been doing. So we made a tremendous improvement that way.
And just make note, that's Woody Gossam, not the Commissioner's Court.
Well, they hadn't voted on it yet, but I
Well,
keep telling them, once it's voted on, it's our budget, not mine.
It was always expense in our budget, it just
Yeah.
wasn't tracked or
Not in this.
the same in
Wasn't shown
the
in the
same
same
manner. Our INS rate covers that expense, but we set that out to indicate what is what.
Okay. Then I'm going to ask the court to, under item 2, we'll go through and we're going to adopt these things within this budget and adopt the total budget in item 3 and set and the tax rate. But let me work through this so we have this for the record to do. Under item 2 is discuss, consider, take action on the following. Discuss, consider, and take action on the personnel section within the proposed 2020 budget. And I'm referencing the document as the revised document presented 9/20/18. We revised that after the work last Friday and go with what I sent you yesterday, and you've had, I hope, a chance to review. That was 9/21/19 at 3:49 p.m.
Judge, I'd make a motion to accept the personnel portion of the budget.
And would you roll into it that the jail incentive concept would be part of that or not?
Yes, and it is, I guess it's not.
It's not in
set
that
out in the
document.
section, but that we will diligently move forward to work up the ideal scenario
Okay.
to capture those funds within the proposed personnel budget.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second that, Judge.
Thanks, sir. Any other comment? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Okay. B is discuss, consider, or take action on the maintenance and operations section of the proposed budget and to include funds 403, 404, and 405. And that's the ones we hadn't included that way. They were budgeted and in there, but this is the way we think is a better way to present that.
Yeah, Judge, I'd make a motion that we take action to approve the maintenance and operations section of the proposed 2020 budget and add funds 403, 404, and 405, which help me with that. Tyler, the jail, and
The loan.
The loans.
The
All the
loans.
other, yeah,
I second that motion.
thank you.
That's just a good way to report it so you can actually see what your indebtedness is.
Okay. Any comments, anyone? Okay. All in favor of the motion by Commissioner Watts, seconded by Commissioner Harvey, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item C, discuss, consider, take action on the proposed capital expenditure section of the proposed 2020 budget, changes for additions, deletions, and other changes to capital expenditures listing and policy.
Judge, I'd make the motion that we move forward with the capital expenditure listings within the budget as presented.
Okay.
Second.
Whoops. We're talking about capital expenditures like our
Yes.
elevator projects.
Well,
No,
no.
it's the capital list. It's back
Oh,
in the
our
back.
capital
It's
expenditure
actually
on our
what's,
equipment.
yeah, equipment,
Equipment.
yeah,
Okay.
for road and bridge and for general fund.
It's on the back, Lee.
Yeah.
Okay.
560, you need to change the in-car radios from 5 to 7.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Willie.
From 5 to 7, Will? Oh, I see it's listed in 5, when they'll go.
Well, it was at the radios or the cameras?
There's 5 radios listed. There are no cameras listed there. I looked for that.
It was 3 cameras, wasn't there, Will?
I was thinking there were 7 cameras and 7 radios.
I thought,
We get 7 vehicles.
Yeah, so we need to add 7 cameras.
Add 2 more, is what Willie's saying, right?
Yeah, there's 5 listed.
Okay.
We need to bump it up to 7 units.
oh, that's what I thought, there was 5
Yeah,
listed.
There's 5 listed.
Cameras and radio.
The reason being that the existing equipment today is expired.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay. All right, motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Muller to approve the capital expenditures sections proposed in the 20, and to modify in 560 to change from 5 radios to 7, and from 5 cameras to 7 cameras. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item D, discuss and consider take action on the 2020 budget preface and policy section to include changes and additions. And I'm going to add this, and approval for mathematical and verbal corrections as appropriate without significant change to the budget.
So moved.
Second.
Any other comments or questions?
Permanent improvement fund. Let me get all these notes situated here. So last year,
Should
our
that,
budget requirements for permanent improvement fund was 3.5. And then this year, our budget requirements for permanent improvement fund actually show less in the requirement budget.
less than last year, but it's,
That's the amount of money available.
What's allowable?
Was that in the preface?
no,
Down here.
that's back.
It's in the,
The list, that was really
Already,
covered in item 2B.
I didn't understand the question all the way.
Well, I'm trying to pull out the notes here on exactly which page we're on. I can reference it from last year.
We are anticipating a fund balance there, finishing the year with under $1.7 million.
Yeah, we're showing a budget requirement last year for permanent improvement of 3.5 million.
Well,
And this year, we're actually showing less.
yes, because we have less money.
But when we look at the budget preface, it does say that we're increasing
Well, the tax.
the taxes.
The
in order to
increased
fund
taxes
the
being dedicated to it.
permanent fund.
I don't find it. It's
Hey.
Yeah, it's,
I'm
my
looking.
pages are all,
It is, sources of income, Mark, is pulled out here on the title of the page. It shows permanent improvement fund budgeted for $2.8 million for 2020. It's on top of our existing balance.
well, it's showing
In your
the
revenue budget?
balance to be 1.7, and the tax coming in would be 1.0 plus 120,000, is that correct? And so it's 2.8 is the total.
Yeah.
That's what we would have to operate with. So
We're-
right now, the balance is only 1.7.
The thought process is to set $1 million in there to
Right.
grow the fund, but at the same time, we know that we have improvement projects that far exceed our cost to pay for them, and it's going to make us understand, what's going to be the smartest or best way to underwrite that, and whether those dollars need to flow in the 2021 budget into the INS fund to underwrite loans that we make to, some of that can't be pushed much farther. And so we hope to close 2020 with that 2.8
Okay. Well, so-
balance, or move what's required to fund the loan payment.
So our
If
budget
that's-
requirement for this year is 2.877,608.
Right.
Our budget requirement for permanent improvement fund last year was 3.5. But we're saying that a large reason for our tax increase was to go into permanent improvement.
Yes.
We're actually showing a decrease going into permanent improvement.
Well, Okay.
No, you've got an
No, no.
increase of $1 million going into permanent improvement. You're just working up back up the balance. The $1 million,
Yeah, we
it's got
operated
to
on fund
come.
balance, did we not, Judge?
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well,
Not-
fund balance, yeah, we didn't put any tax. That fund was established by Judge Gibson and Mr. Wall years ago. It's been the money we put back to do renovations, remodels, major,
Right.
those kind of things. We had not funded that, and realizing with the projects that went against that 3.5 million, we reduced that fund down to that fund balance. We did with the money what was supposed to be done.
Right.
But if we didn't add that penny in this year, you could never add it in without having an election. Because with just the 3.5%, we're limited to,
You can't get there.
you can't get there, and then you would not be able to put that in. But what I would hope the court would do is continue to use that money to do the improvements that need to be done. But given the cost of most of the kind of improvements we need to
Yeah,
do,
they're astronomical.
yeah,
Well, and you gotta remember, guys, a lot of the things done out of that fund over the last, since I've served on this court, have been emergency situations. But something would come up and needed to be, taken care of, that's where we would go. It was our ability to go in and deal. So if we lose our bank of elevators in the courthouse today, it's nice to have that fund sitting there to go in and pick that up.
We've got one on the agenda for this or later
Yeah.
on too.
Yeah.
So-
It has helped us in a lot of situations where we own a bunch of old buildings, high-traffic buildings, and it takes maintenance to keep them going. And I'd say we've done not a whole lot better than tread water. We have made some improvements in some areas that are gonna help us long-term. The San Moresco project is one of them. But that was sort of an emergency project when you get right down to it. This time last year, we were really up against the wall, and it's gonna work out that we got a very good repair out of that. And we were able to do it because we had that permanent improvement fund sitting there to back us up.
No, I just need to understand that number, that it looked like from last year to this year, there was actually a decrease in need from permanent improvement, the way it's written in the budget.
there's a decrease in funding.
But
But if you wrote down,
And all the needs, you could probably quadruple that without any trouble.
And the funding truthfully didn't come in the 19 or 18-year budget to permanent improvement. That money had
come from past.
acquired, yes, earlier than that, to the fund. We just pulled on the fund hard doing our upgrade on 30-year-old equipment in our annex and in the courthouse here that, I thought about that this morning, electric utility bills for the courthouse, $500,000, just shy of $500,000, but maintenance on that equipment crowding $300,000.
So we
So-
showed it in last year's budget as a required need item, but never taxed for that item.
So,
because we had adequate fund balances there to do that, but,
We never, okay.
and quite honestly, I know the legislature will tell everybody, well, boy, you lowered your property taxes. Well, that starts in 2021, that cap. And now, some counties artificially went up to 7.99 this year to put money in there. we gave you a reason, or I did when I added that back in there and then republished that tax rate to be open about it, is to put that money in there. That is the money, because the only other way is to go borrow money. Now, Mr. Hampton's going to be caught in this conundrum with the feds lowering this, you know, that the excellent income we are seeing right now is going to go start fading away. It would seem to me.
It's already fading away,
Yeah,
is it not,
that-
Bob? I mean, we saw interest rates decline on our monies in the last 6 months, just fairly steady, hadn't we?
Well, it will. If you look at the Fed rate.
Yeah, that's,
So every time you renew something, it's gonna be at a lower amount, I would assume,
yeah.
as they come due, and, now, I would love to see that permanent improvement fund funded at $10 million, but it's
Yeah,
not
me
there.
too. I just had a question, I got my question.
No,
answered.
okay. Yeah, but I understand, it took me a while to catch on what you were saying, but it's simply.
No, I just
Yeah,
need
less
to
money.
understand what the change was, so
Okay.
from the looks of the two budgets, it looked like the need actually went down,
It did.
but we've never taxed, we've never set aside taxes specifically for permanent improvements
Since you've been on the court.
since I've been on the court.
Yes, sir.
Right.
It was done earlier, though.
Right, okay.
And then we
And-
rolled some other
Got it.
things into it over the years to shore it up, and
Well, like my permanent improvements at my facility in Burke Burnett they had to be done. I mean, but the place was actually falling down.
well, that's what I'm saying, Lee, it's been an emergency fund in a lot of instances. There've been things that we could go to do what we needed to do, and not have to worry about the funding, because we had it in place and ready to go. And a lot of it was done, I don't think any of it was spent frivolously. It was all done to shore things up and make things function better.
Okay. Any other comments on this item with the additional language added? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 3 is discuss and consider take action on the 2020 budget debt service interest and sinking fund rate being set at 0.070920 cents. In the budget, it lays out and explains to you all the debt and the amount of payment we have to make this year. There's also money being transferred into that from the separate road and bridge taxing to go back into that to pay that debt. So we're not double dipping there, and that's being done. But that rate is why we get favorable loans, because we can guarantee that money with tax revenue.
Judge, I'd make a motion that we set the interest and sinking rate at .070920 to fund our indebtedness for 2020.
Thanks, sir.
Second.
Any other comments or questions on that?
Is there any extra dollars in that, or is that figured down to the penny?
Lee, it's fairly close, because any dollars figured in there that go into the INS fund, they can't come out of the INS fund. So we try to, the taxpayer.
That's my question
Yeah.
out there. Thank you.
They can, if we had a point, we got all debt paid off at one time, and there was a residual left in there, and then you can take that. But that rarely happens, and with the long-term debt we have, that's not gonna happen for the next 27 years, so.
And you know, Judge, I'd just like to point out that as compared to the rate, we have about a 10% debt ratio here to our overall fund, and most people can't say that. And I think we have tried to be ultra conservative with any dollar spent. The jail is a large portion of this makeup. Our debt ratio or our debt service wouldn't be 2 cents once the jail is paid for, in a facility that we all knew needed to happen and be complete. That will go away in a period of time. It's going to be a while, but overall, our indebtedness as a county is clean and good. There are entities that are well into 30 to 50% of their tax rate goes to cover interest in sinking fund payments, and we're far from that, so.
Have a motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Beecham. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, item number 4 is discuss, consider, and take action to set the maintenance and operations rate at the proposed rate of 0.560895 for the constitutional funds and 0.04000 for the special road and bridge tax, for a total of 0.600895 as changed. Item A under that is the M&O rate, and that'd be the same, that combines into that total. I'd ask for this, let me read the rest of this, this has to be stated. This tax rate will raise more taxes for maintenance and operations than last year's tax rate. The tax rate will effectively be raised by 1.837% for the constitutional funds. That's not.
It is, because we're doing it all at once. We're moving it from one side to the other.
No. The 282.96%.
Because we weren't doing it.
Because we were-
That's right, I'm sorry, yeah, thank you,
All
yeah,
at once.
that's
It's a
right.
total, it's a total.
Okay.
That looks big, it
yeah,
jumps
that-
out at you, but that's the deal,
Yeah.
we had not designated that.
And then it actually raises 5.9% for the total budget. I'm sorry, I looked at that before and it didn't sting me that way.
Yeah,
Okay. That ought to have Robert Pratt talking. Okay,
282%.
All that
Yeah.
means is that we moved,
Yeah.
we just split it, it's pretty much the same number, we just took a
We
chunk.
named it something
Yeah.
else,
Yeah.
basically.
It's always, it's been that since the jail project is gone, it's just stated differently, so.
okay, let me read the last statement, and we'll raise taxes for maintenance and operations on a $100,000 home by approximately $37.44 for the year. Okay.
So total tax rate,
What?
Would be the combination of the INS rate of .07 and then the road and bridge M&O combined of .60 mark, so a total tax rate of .67 and some change.
Some
6,
digits.
7, yeah.
And I just want to say, and I'll make that motion to move forward with this, we all apprehensively went into this and our brakes were on and we knew that we were up against the wall. Willie Wall does a tremendous job putting this thing together and this year, and with the help of the auditor's office, Nancy worked diligently on it. But one thing that stood out to us is the $8 million that we pull from our savings account to balance this budget. Now, if a disaster comes to Wichita County and we have to pay before FEMA shows up, and that's what happens, and if John gets in a tight and has to have murder trial after murder trial at our expense at great cost to this county, we could find ourselves on the short end of the stick in a hurry. We keep about 3 months operating in the bank, and it's been our standard to try to do that. We've had more at times. We're down to 3 months. We try to keep a tight lid on things. We know moving forward we're going to have to continue to tighten this belt even more. We're up against the wall as far as what our tax rate can be, and we'll have no choice by then but we've already started. We begin to make those cuts. We're doing those things that try to bring dollar savings to and stretch this dollar as far as it can go. When you're impacted by legislation that insists that we put half a penny on the tax rate just to cover mental health in the jail, there's nothing we can do about that. When we have costs that are inflating from just the white paper we buy in this courthouse that increase year over year by 5 and 6%, those costs are eroded that we have dollars to pay for. So I just wanted to be clear that not quite half of our fund balance goes to balance this budget. And we hope that we can avoid that, and we try our darndest, and we do avoid that. We don't operate a deficit budget, but we have to have the funds sitting there, so if a problem, we incur a problem, we can grab those funds, because without being a part of this budget, they can't be used. So all that being said, it's just, there's not a bone in any of our bodies that are for an increase of any shape, form, or fashion to the taxpayer. We're all taxpayers, and we all have to pay a great deal in property taxes, and I don't relish that. But at the same time, I want to live in a county that has decent roads, that has a good jail, that the sheriff department shows up when I call. The DA is able to do what he needs to do to get prisoners in and out of our jail quickly. It's the society we live in. I'm sad that it has to require an increase for us, but nevertheless, that's my spiel. And it takes it. We've scrutinized it and scrutinized it and scrutinized it. We can't operate on nothing without everything falling to the wayside because of disrepair. So with that, Judge, I'd make the motion that we approve the rate of .600895 for the total M&O budget.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, we did start out this year with the intent on trying to keep it at the .657 rate.
Yeah.
We did.
That's right, Mark.
We did. We looked at every single thing imaginable. There are a few things that were beyond our control, but I still think we could have done more to keep it at the 657.
Did you ever suggest that?
Suggested a lot of things.
Well, it
But
is.
of that magnitude, I overlooked something there.
It is very difficult to deal with, and you know, we're faced with a hot economy in Texas, and this, like the sheriff spoke of earlier, pay increases. People are leaving us because we can't pay what others pay. We'll never be able to pay what others pay, but at least we need to make every effort to fully utilize what we have to keep our people intact. But we know that, in essence, to make this thing ever stay in line, our people are going to have to go away. And so, because it's the largest portion of our budget is payroll and benefits. And so when we become up against the wall, that's the first thing that's going to have to go. We're going to have to do more with less. And
No, agreed.
it's very difficult, and we'd never believed that, you know, elevators in this courthouse are going to cost millions of dollars, but we know they're going to cost more than $1 million, and it's just got to be done. And that's something that is outside of our control, and we have to have the funds to do it with. And we don't relish it by any means, and none of us do.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Harvey to approve the items as stated in item number 4. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
That motion carries 4-1. Now, this is going to be redundant, but this is following the law to do this. Item 5 is discuss, consider, take action to set the tax rate with a motion as follows. I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.671815, which is effectively a 5.9% increase in the tax rate.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, for it, I need to, these will have to be recorded. Commissioner Harvey, Commissioner Mahler, Commissioner Watts, Judge Gossam, and against, Commissioner Beecham. Okay. All thank you all. I appreciate the hard work, and anyone that's still wanting to stay around, we do have a few more items to cover and all that, but I do appreciate the attendance here. Okay, item 6 is review and approve the regular bills for payment.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments on the bills?
Wish they were less.
That's just ditto.
Ditto.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries 5-0. Item 7, discuss, consider, take action to move the computer server from room to the second floor former phone room. Commissioner Beecham.
George, you want to handle this?
Yes, sir. As y'all know, we had a water incident about this time last week, and the cost of replacing the equipment so far we're up to around $120,000. That'll be covered by vendor's insurance, not the county. But I know when we had the big flood a few years ago, I noticed and thought about this at that time and mentioned it, but we just never, how things, get overcome by events. We had a nice dam of sandbags built up around the generator so that it wouldn't flood out the generator. And while that was all well and good, there's a 5-inch pipe that goes through the wall down there in the server room that all the conduit for the fiber optic, getting us to the internet, getting us to the juvenile detention center, gets the TLET satellite up on the roof, connects them. And if that water had got to that generator, the generator may have ran, but the servers would have been all 2, 3, 4 feet in water, so it really wouldn't have mattered. With the current situation that we're in, I thought this was a good time to bring it up again, moving the servers to the phone room.
Before I vote on something like this, I wanna know what kind of money we're talking about, because that's a lot of infrastructure that's gotta be moved.
Right now, I've got estimates totaling about 25,000. Still like a few, waiting on air conditioning, which I don't think we're gonna have to do anything, just waiting on getting back an engineer report to tell us if we're gonna have to do that. I think we're good with that, so looking at an overall project budget of about 30,000 total.
So everything going through that 6-inch pipe,
That
every bit
doesn't
of that's
have to
gotta be moved?
No, we have to
No.
move the generator, we have to move the servers. Are we going to have to pull fiber optic across at some point?
At some point, we may, we won't need to do that immediately. There'll be some equipment that will remain down there. The firewalls, there's the switch down there because currently all the fiber from 4th floor, 3rd floor, 2nd floor runs into that room. So that switch will remain where it is, and it'll continue to run on the uninterruptible power supplies. We may have to, revisit that in the future, but I keep one rack down there for the switch, the internet, things of that nature, and getting them up off the floor where if it does flood, they're not affected by that. As far as the servers themselves, yes, sir, we can stage moving them so as to have a minimum disruption on our users. But they'll be physically relocated.
We're looking about 4 hours downtime in the swap over, according to the electrician.
Where would the generator have to be restaged?
Right now, we're looking at putting it behind the courthouse main steps in the front and building a eaves retaining wall or cover wall.
You mean right out front by
Yeah.
the steps?
Yeah, it'd be behind, it would kind of be hidden behind the steps, if you will. So on the right-hand side, it's a little bit higher. We would actually raise the generator up out of the floodplain. So. we
Why
would
does
have-
the generator need to be moved? Can it be elevated and leave it in the same spot and just
It's-
elevate it?
Because we either have to move it or replumb it all the way over. So the cost to run conduit and everything all the way around would be probably greater, because we'd have the directional bore.
Because the phone room
Yeah, phone
is
room's
on the other side of the
side of the
building.
building.
I'm
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, the most prudent method would be to move the generator.
Yeah.
We could do it by running it through the rafters and other methods, but we'd have line loss, et cetera, to deal with. So the best way to do it is to move the generator, but that does come with an additional added cost of building that east cover wall.
And the generator would sit nice on the steps too, if we need to do that.
Yeah, we thought about painting some lions on the side of it, so it,
Could it actually go up there on that porch area right next to the phone room and be mounted there and exhausted out through the pigeon boxes?
I think it's too large to fit up in there. I mean, that's something we really hadn't looked at, but I
It
think it's too
really looked
large.
tacky too.
It'd be
can't
tight.
I
see it.
just wouldn't want it to be exposed,
No.
you know, if it could be done and hidden away
Yeah,
by
I think we've got
containment wall.
a pretty good plan to hide it.
We can
But-
set it right out there on that brand new, white concrete sidewalk.
It needs to be higher. It needs to be out of the 500-year floodplain area or with, yeah,
Well, it can be set on a foundation that's elevated
yeah.
and then build a wall.
And certainly take into consideration ease of service when you remount that thing. Don't get it packed in there so tight that.
Yeah,
you can't
that might
get
be
to
the
it.
problem with putting it up there.
Yeah,
Ms.
you
Kennedy?
need to be able
You know, when this was first brought up, I had asked that we have a discussion with John about this. That space in front of the telephone room, we had intended to be an office. We were gonna bring the scanners down from 4. 2 of them were gonna fit in an office on 3, and then the third one was gonna go into that space when we got security. We don't have security yet because of Odyssey. We haven't had time to have somebody come and bid it out, but we needed that office for that place. So is there no other place in the courthouse that this could possibly be done? Because we have no room for expansion once that's taken.
Well, is it taking that room as well? I was
Yes.
not under that impression. I
Yeah,
thought it
it
was
would
the
need the front.
original phone
It
room.
it would need the front part of that room as well.
What is on the third and fourth floor above where it's at now? Anything?
Clerk's office and,
The
Yeah.
county clerk is
Yeah.
above on the second. I think, that would make the lawyer's lounge on the
Third.
third, the Judge Bonnerant's court, and or the old courtroom, I guess, on the fourth. Is that how that goes?
I
But
think
you're,
that is right, the old courtroom.
Jill?
That old courtroom's right above you, isn't it?
George, what's your size requirement? With anticipated, you always have to anticipate a little expansion for,
Because of the way that the Attorney General has equipment in there currently, we need to have our racks. It would take up space in the office that Meredith is
Yeah.
talking about.
you got to always,
And the phone system, the only reason that we're even really able to consider that currently is because the new phone system takes up so much less space than the old.
Yeah. Well, the one thing, it's just like on the generator, I think one of the things that you can be sure short-sighted at, you gotta be able to have technicians move around in there to do maintenance and stuff, and sometimes we get stuff, and we got plenty of room to put it, but you can't work on it once you get it mounted. Let's make sure we've got plenty of,
And that's, we actually took some measurements for space coming off the back of the racks, and then, space being able to pull the servers out the front, because they come out the front, so we're not able, because of where other
Against the
equipment's
wall.
already located, we can't put those racks in front of the, phone equipment, because there's not enough space to
Pull them out.
pull the server completely out at that point.
needs to be serviceable.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And I think we had that serviceability in there, if we can take that wall out.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and same way with the generator, there's space in order to move the generator and potentially a AC unit as well, if we needed it.
Well, do we need to visit through this with Meredith's group and make sure that we can,
Yeah, I think that would be approve them before we move forward.
Just in my mind, that old courtroom is above you, or above the roof.
It
is.
seems like it is to me as well.
Well, we could box that in,
It's
and
in,
plenty of room.
well, it's in the middle of that hallway, Lee, so that, you know, it's centered, pretty much. There's Judge Bondurant's office is on the
Right.
one end, and then the workroom is on the other, so it's in the vicinity, and I would think it'd be centered over the steps.
I would think so too.
Yeah, right next to where we'd be, so.
So instead of going over, we might go up. We could look at it. We just need to do the most.
But you're gonna
basic thing.
probably add slightly to the electrical cost, then you're gonna have to
Yeah.
run stuff on up and down, because that also that will power that telephone system, the backup generator.
Currently, the phone system is not generated.
It's not.
No, because you can't penetrate the building from the newer building to the old building. Been one of the fire issues that,
You just tell Choate that you wanna get through that wall, he'll get you through that wall.
If you have someone that would recertify the firewall, that actually can be done.
That was one of the bigger reasons why we didn't go through the walls.
But you still have to
We
run.
probably got some of those stairs that can get through the wall.
Well, you did say you had contingency funds in order to pay for this.
yeah, right, put it on the roof, yeah.
Do
Weld it to the side of the building.
we want to approve a project up to 40,000 pending feasibility, so we don't have to revisit?
I suggest that.
Okay.
We move on.
So amend the, discuss, consider, take action to move the computer server room.
To-
And leave it
to-
right there.
Yeah, leave it right there. At a cost not to exceed 40,000 from IT contingency line, whatever.
It's 412, I don't know the exact line.
As determined by the county auditor. 412.
That would give a little extra room in case we do go up in the budget, if we go up to a different floor.
More wire.
'Cause really, we need to act one way or another pretty quickly on this. That's why it hasn't been well thought out. It's just,
Well, I thought you had talked, I guess you talked to John and he didn't know about the plan for that room, because, you and I talked about that.
yeah.
Okay,
We scrambled to get as much done as we could to get it to this point, so.
okay. Is there a second to?
Second.
Any other discussion? Thanks, Meredith. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 8, discuss, consider, take action to accept Texoma Heating and Air Conditioning quote in the amount of $47,1820 for repair of the Justice of Peace Precinct 3 air conditioning to be paid from $105,2444.54 repair and maintenance building equipment. Commissioner Harvey, I think you'd gotten in on that.
Yeah, I'd gotten in on this. We got Judge Johnson reached out and as his air conditioning was out, and, the repair people got over there and it said the thing was 26 years old. It had a hole in the core and they couldn't even get a core for it anymore. So I called, Judge Gossam and talked to him about it, and, he suggested that we repair that, go ahead and repair that on an emergency basis. And so we did. We had the unit replaced. And then the courtroom and everything is back up and running.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I got you in a second.
All right, either way.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments on that? That is within budget policy. We have it approved that for emergencies, we can move on instead of having that office shut down for a week. Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 9 is to discuss, consider, take action to approve the county treasurer's report for July 2019 and authorize county judge and commissioners to sign the affidavit certifying compliance with section 114.026C, and I believe that's local government code. We really need to finish that out, Nancy, whether that's government code or local government.
Better known as the Bob Hampton report.
Yes.
Well, something like that.
Where's that pretty colored, that's on, I'm looking.
This is, well, we gotta talk about TSG first.
Okay, all right.
That's not part of the item.
What?
You're looking at
Oh,
your
TSG, I'm sorry, the
TSG,
printout.
the end of August, that's the reason we have to look at it first, because TSG is always a month behind what I give you, so. If you have any questions, the bottom line is we're 2% ahead of where we were this time last year, trailing 12 months, 2%, which is 4% last month, and now we're 2%. We're probably gonna be in the red next month, so.
Well, now, okay, but that's because we're paying out on jail construction and other things that do that. So, I mean, they're budgeted expenses.
Jail really doesn't have anything to do with it.
No,
We're
jail
paying
doesn't,
our
it's outside
debts.
that, but overall, I'm just saying both things are having money come out of
We're
it.
paying our debts and we're paying
Yeah.
some really heavy-duty bills. You got 300,000 going out today in just bills. So,
Well, we probably bought, well, this was from, August, I was gonna say, we probably bought, what, $300,000 worth of sealing oil in the last,
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
oh, yeah, big time.
yeah, you know, precinct 1, for example, big oil
yeah.
bills.
Big oil.
Big
Yeah.
oil.
Big oil bills.
It's all them big oil wells out in the west
And
part of
nobody's,
town.
nobody's surprised by that. Oil products, you know, we're taking it in the air on that. And, any other questions on TSG? Okay, everybody's focused on my printout. So here's the end of August.
It's better.
This bad.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
It's
really-
more
it's-
colorful.
It's scary. Be real honest with you, we're not reinvesting a lot of money because we're spending it faster than we get it matured. And, if you look on page 4, you got $116,000 monthly revenue of interest, which is really good. And so, a lot of people say, well, the treasurer's office doesn't do anything. We're probably one of your biggest money makers. Without a treasurer, your financial flow is pretty jammed up. The purpose of any large corporation is to have a good check and balance system. And I was interested to hear Commissioner Watts say they're gonna do more with less. The treasurer is your voted person. He answers to you. If you allow another department to take over my duties or a treasurer's duties, you miss out on that opportunity. And that person answers only to this group here, whoever's sitting there. So, always be mindful of the facts when you're called upon to vote. And my God, you got a right to vote, so vote. Because if we do away with the treasurer's office, that takes a constitutional amendment.
Brother Bob,
There's
Brother
only
Bob,
two people
we're not gonna get
referred
rid
to
of
in
the
the
treasurer's office.
1876 Constitution. That's
I
the
wish
county
you would
judge
get off
and
of
the
that.
county treasurer.
I've been listening to that for 5 years. Nobody's
You
gonna
bet
get
your
rid
life.
of the treasurer's
And
office.
and since that 5 years, I've asked for help in my office and been turned down every year.
But that doesn't mean that we're gonna
Constantly,
get rid of the treasurer's office.
Responsibilities have been taken out of my office,
Some,
and,
yes.
so it's
Could we move on with the report, please, sir?
well, that's part of my report.
Okay.
And it's a significant report because,
We recorded
we
it.
got a 30th, now I want this recorded though.
Okay, it is.
30th, as I've been talking about it, we're paying Pilgrim Bank $229,599 on borrowed money. That's coming out of our 301 fund, our debt, which will eliminate pretty much our entire debt fund. Then we have an obligation on October the 1st at American National Bank of a little over $213,000. So, we're, financially, we're gonna have to come up with some money somewhere. So that's where we are. We spent right at $12,420,000 on the bond, $70,000 deal. And then I was in on that phone call the other day. IRS, with those of us who had experience with IRS, that's a money-making opportunity for them. I want to love to record this too. We talked to Park Harris, Sam, and the first thing they said is, how you gonna pay for this? You know, it's not how we're gonna defend it, it's how does the county plan to pay for this? So, 10 to 15,000 plus, you're looking at a 15 plus obligation there, so I would think. The other side of the coin is though, the IRS is gonna come in here and say, you've done this and done this, which is good, because McCall, Parkhurst firm that's what they do for a living, is to guide us. But think about this, we are a non-profit organization that we passed this bond fund. All of a sudden, here's the IRS. They're gonna find us something, some lost document. So it's, once again, it's a money-making opportunity for our government. It's like I told on that phone deal, you know, I love my country, but boy, I fear my government. And so here we are as taxpayers, and I represent the taxpayers. This is all something we have to be concerned about. And you say, well, you know, we got to raise the rate. Wichita Falls, Texas rates 40 in size in the state of Texas now. And for the last 5 years, we've had the lowest increase in revenue of the other 39 cities in the state of Texas. I mean, that should be something that commissioners, county treasurers don't change much because we're a dime a dozen. But commissioners and county judges, they're the ones that create the fire. Okay, now do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Well, you pay me to have an opinion, and by golly, I'll sure give you one.
I just hope
It's worth everything.
someday that you believe that we are not out to get rid of your office. It won't happen. Not as far as I know.
Okay, could I have the court take action on the item?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Commissioner Beecham, update on Law Enforcement Center and the Amoresco project.
Yeah, Law Enforcement Center continues to flow smoothly. We did have a little bit of discussion on the IOCCs that are change orders, if you will, on items that were missed in value engineering. Once they did the value engineering, they left some items out that were necessary to the completion of the building, and we're assigning those IOCCs now. The discussion was on culpability from the architect that left that area of the design out. One of the one I brought Friday for brief discussion was we had changed the way we were draining the rec yards. And when we did that change, they failed to put the plumbing in to drain the water out of the rec yards from the interior of the building out to the exterior drains. They just capped them off and left the plumbing out. So we had to sign a change order, which was necessary to do the work before the construction moved on. It had to be done. But that was something that should not have been missed in the design process,
So where does the architect, what kind of feedback are you getting from them about financially being responsible?
Well, we discussed that Friday, and that I'm sending a notice to the engineers, not the architects. That's an
Well, that's what I was
Yeah,
calling
yeah,
architect.
yeah, the whole,
That's
the
what I'm
whole
talking
team, yeah. So, other than those, there've been a couple of misses along that line. One with, that one's one, the other one with the total lack of plumbing when we essentially shelled out G2.
Yeah.
They shelled it completely
need
out.
anything.
They just bare concrete slab with no plumbing, electrical, or anything, ability to come up in there, so.
But we caught that, and all that
It's,
infrastructure is.
it's all in place.
And both cases, the architect caught that,
Local.
along with the local
Yeah,
architect.
Local people caught that, which is what we're paying them to do.
Yeah,
Their Harper Perkins is really on top of everything. I'm very impressed with their level of engagement on the project. Amoresco, we have a big milestone this weekend. The new boiler will be going in the basement on Saturday. So that's the last major thing to go, is that boiler being put in. Then it's all balancing everything in the HVAC and checking temperatures and flows.
It will be installed or was installed?
It will be up this upcoming
Okay.
weekend, yeah.
Okay.
Work with security, we're going to have a private security staff on, at the building to make sure that no one enters the building that's not supposed to,
Okay.
so.
what's that job pay?
That I don't know, because
Not doing
that's subcontractors.
Not doing
Yeah.
anything, Sandy.
Okay.
You need a part-time job?
Yeah.
All right. We've got a closed session item, gentlemen. Let's move on. Okay. We're down to county officials. Anyone in the audience wish to make any comment? Okay. Mr. Beecham,
I have nothing good.
Commissioner Harvey.
This Saturday, we will be celebrating the Air Force Ball on the 28th. The Redneck Culinary Academy was privileged to go to Iowa Park and support the Iowa Park Volunteer Fire Department on Saturday. We helped them with their fundraiser. They raised right at $15,000 for their department. That was a lot of fun. That's all that I have on my calendar.
Good. Okay. Commissioner Mahler.
Good news is that the bountiful rain has taken a little bit of the pressure off of the fire situation, so that should help a bunch. And once again, we don't need these fire departments having to answer any more calls than they absolutely have to, so that's been a real blessing and gonna help move into the fall. Certainly glad to have it. Jeff had to step out and take the call.
Yeah. Okay. Commissioner, you're up.
Feedback.
We are, I guess, very close to wrapping up. Lee's finished up, and Mark has a little project left, I think.
Yeah,
Mark
we're gonna
on
go
Old
back
State.
and grab, yeah, we're gonna go back and grab another road. I can't remember which one it is right now. Brain's blank this morning.
But it's only about a mile.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
only
it
a
wasn't-
mile.
it
It's
wasn't
just
much,
adding it
but-
back in.
We're getting down to the end of that. Had a great homecoming weekend in Iowa Park, and that was fantastic. Good to see classmates. My 40th anniversary, class reunion anniversary was Saturday, and so it was great to see all those folks and just see what everybody's doing in life. But I can't imagine where time goes, but it goes. So.
Oh, one other comment, Judge, if I could, that sparked my memory. The food bank in Iowa Park operates out of our church, First United Methodist, and it's supported by most of the churches in town and the Ministerial Alliance. And American National Bank had a fundraiser for us during homecoming, and I think they said we gathered up about $15,000 for the renovation and to make that thing function better. So it's a big, important part of the community over in Iowa Park, and that'll sure move us down the road as we continue to try to better serve the public. So,
That's great.
yeah, it was a very, very successful bid.
All righty. just want to say I appreciate all the work on the budget process, and we will finish that up, have it filed by next Monday and meet the requirement there. But we're really in pretty good shape on that document, and I appreciate the efforts and all that were put into it. Tomorrow is the National Voter Registration Day. This is sponsored by the Wichita Falls League of Women Voters and the Texas and the National. And the idea is to get, it's amazing the number of people that are not registered to vote. And then somehow they forget why they registered to vote, which means you should go vote on Election Day. Our turnout is,
Next thing, you should study and then go vote.
that'd be the other thing, yes, and do that. The work day for MSU Burns Fantasy Light is coming up this Saturday, and that started in 1974, so it's been around for a while. But if you ever want to come out and get close to those displays, if you come out and go in, I think it's entry number 4 off of Professional Drive there through the apartments, go straight back, park the car, get out, come through the gate, and wear clothes you don't mind getting paint on or other things and stuff like that. But we're always looking for volunteers, and we throw lunch in at noontime, so not a bad deal.
And how about those undefeated Mustangs?
Yeah.
How about it?
They kept, I thought it was Dallas playing for a while, the way they kept clutching from the jaws of victory there.
Yeah.
You know, so,
Well, isn't that Permian group a good group?
yeah, they had beat some good teams, but I
They
mean,
beat some quality programs already.
What, they beat a team that played the LSU the very next week, so
yeah.
that's.
Well, you know, I'm not sure when Texas State opening game was against A&M,
Yeah.
you know, I think they used all 12 men on the A&M squad, but at any rate. We do have, I would announce that we're going to go into closed session, briefing and discussion with Wichita County District Attorney's Office regarding an accident claim involving Wichita County Sheriff's Office vehicle. This meeting is closed pursuant to section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code in consultation with attorney. And the time right now is 11:32.
While we're clearing the courtroom, I'm gonna go into open zipper.